So I want to address this high Sabbath that other people have talked about. That's really what I wanted to discuss. But this verse said another place where Jesus made it clear it would be a literal 3 days and 3 nights when he talked about Jonah being in the belly of the whale. I already talked about that. Again, the biggest mistake that most people read is attempting to read scripture the way we would read it instead of the way that a first century Jewish person would read it. But again, we have dragged that into the mud. So first of all, it's my birthday. Thank you. Yes, I turned the whole right age of 46 today. I'm grateful. I hung my Amazon wish list of books on Facebook. I also got it on here. Hit the link in my bio. If you are watching on TikTok, you can hit the link in my bio. If you want to be a blessing, then you can buy a book off of there and it'll ship to me. If not, that's cool. I just appreciate your content. Now, let's get to it. All right, so let's look at the scripture. All right, this is the scripture that trips everybody up, okay? John 19:31 says, since it was the preparation day. All right, again, I cannot stress this enough. All four gospels tell us it was the preparation day. Every single person who has commented saying that this was not a Friday to Sunday 3 days and 3 nights, but it was a Wednesday to Saturday 3 days and 3 nights, not one person has explained why all four gospels say it was the preparation day. All right. Again, preparation means preparation for the Sabbath. All right. In order for there were not 2 Sabbaths in the week. Let me walk it. All right. Since it was the preparation day and Jews did not want the bodies to remain on the cross on the Sabbath. Again, if it was Wednesday, then it wouldn't have mattered if they would have left his body on the cross. Nobody has explained that believes in a Wednesday crucifixion. If it was a Wednesday crucifixion and the Sabbath wasn't until Saturday, they could have just left Jesus hanging on the cross. There would have been no need to break his legs, as they said in verse 32. So again, they did not want his body to remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a special day. Why was it a special day? He already told us in verse 14 of the same chapter. Here it is, verse 14. Since it was the preparation day for the Passover and it was about noon. So he's already said it was the preparation day for the Passover. That's why it was a special day, because it was a special or a high Sabbath, because unlike all of the other Sabbaths that happened during the year, this particular Sabbath happened on Passover. So again, that's why it was a high Sabbath or a special Sabbath, depending on your translation, because every other Sabbath during the year is just a Sabbath. Sacred, holy, great. We love it. I'm not diminishing that. But this Sabbath was a high Sabbath, a special Sabbath, because it not only is a Sabbath day, but it falls on the Passover. That's why. There's nothing in scripture, not one verse that says that there were 2 Sabbath days. All right. Finally, a few people brought up Daniel 9:27. He will make a firm covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week, he will put a stop to sacrifice and offering. This is not talking about the crucifixion. Just because it says the middle of the week does not mean it is referencing the crucifixion. This is talking about way after Jesus. This is in Daniel when he's talking about a 1 week. A 1 week in Daniel was 7 years. So he's talking about in the middle of that 7 years. You got to go back. It's a whole nother video. You got to go back and understand Daniel's 70 weeks prophecy. But it had nothing to do with the crucifixion. It's misreading scripture with Western eyes. You're looking anachronistically at a verse or in a chapter that has nothing to do with the crucifixion and applying it simply because it helps fit the theology. Again, whatever your theology is for 3 days and 3 nights, it has to reconcile everything that scripture says. So it has to reconcile after 3 days, like Matthew 27:63 says. It has to reconcile on the 3rd day and in 3 days. And a Wednesday crucifixion does not fit that. It does not explain all of the things that are in scripture. So again, here it is. All 4 gospels tell us it was the preparation day. And the preparation day always means Friday. And in many of these, it tells you that is, Mark says, that is the day before the Sabbath. Luke, and the Sabbath was about to begin. So clearly, the Sabbath was not on a Thursday. The Sabbath was not on a Thursday. So again, it just doesn't fit. You're trying to make this fit because you want it to fit nicely into the way that we Americans in the West reconcile, or we reckon time, but that's not the way it was done in the 1st century. Here's a really good commentary that breaks down that Daniel 9:27 part. Again, I'm not going to get into that, to get into the comments with that. In the middle of the week or after the first 3.5 years. All right, a week in Daniel was 7 years. It's not talking about the week of the crucifixion and resurrection. The CSB is my preferred translation, and here on its commentary, it notes that it was a special Sabbath because it was the Sabbath of Passover week. Here's another commentary. I could do this all day like Captain America. All right, because it was a Sabbath which fell within the Passover festival. Scripture interprets Scripture. There's not one verse of Scripture read in context that talks about a Wednesday Sabbath or talks about a Saturday resurrection. It doesn't make any sense. Now, this is where it gets good when you loop in the feast and everything like that, right? So we know that the preparation day was on Friday. Saturday was the Passover as well as the Sabbath. All right. And he already gave instructions in the earlier parts of Leviticus 23 on how to celebrate the Passover. Now, watch this. He says, what happens on the day after the Passover or the day after the Sabbath? The Feast of First Fruits. And what happens now? Watch me read it. He will present the sheaf before the Lord so that you may be accepted. The priest is presented on the day after the Sabbath. So on the day after the Sabbath, Sabbath is on Saturday, they present the first fruits offering. And what happens now? Jesus is the first fruits of the resurrection. So it all fits. You can't do that with a Wednesday to Saturday Sabbath or Wednesday to Saturday crucifixion and resurrection. But it would fit the Old Testament feast of Leviticus 23 that y'all keep telling us to, to go and celebrate and everything like that. It only fits if the Sabbath is and Passover is on Saturday, and then the Feast of First Fruits is the day after the Sabbath. So Jesus Christ, being the first fruits of the resurrection, is resurrected on Sunday, which would be the Feast of First Fruits. You can't make this stuff up. The Bible is beautiful. This is why I'm a nerd. This is why I love the scriptures. Submit to the scriptures. Nothing else explains why the preparation day in all four gospels is on Friday. Nothing else explains why they would have had to take him off of the cross before Friday 6 p.m. because that begins the Sabbath day. And then it all loops and fits into Leviticus 23. All right, the high day or the high Sabbath was because that particular Sabbath fell on the Passover. And here's D.A. Carson. I love this quote because it kind of loops in everything that we talked about. Jesus Christ was crucified on Friday, the preparation for the Sabbath. All right. And then again at the bottom, he talks about the sheaf offering, which was when? The day after the Sabbath, which would have been the Feast of First Fruits. I love it. I love it. So here's a nice chart at the top and everything like that. Use it if you think it helps. But again, Friday is day one. Any part of a day is considered a full day and night in Jewish reckoning of time. All right. So again, Jesus Christ is he's already had his trials and everything through Thursday night going into Friday. And again, Friday would begin Thursday night. That's day one. Day two, he is in the grave all day. All right. Day and night, no matter how you want to look at it. And then Sunday, any part of a day is considered a full day in Jewish reckoning of time. This is 3 days and 3 nights according to the Bible. And just because I love y'all, I went and pulled up a source that shows you a Jewish source from a PhD that says in Jewish communal life, part of a day is at times reckoned as one day. So again, then he goes at the bottom, the day is reckoned from evening to evening. Again, y'all can go look this stuff up. It will tell you this all over the internet. I love y'all. Back to the birthday shenanigans. Y'all take care. Blessings.